Before we get into this story, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Your support helps me share more real-life, emotional stories like this. When Daniel first brought it up, I laughed. Not a light laugh, but one threaded with ridicule. Really? I said, shaking my head. You're jealous of Ethan? He's my best friend. We've known each other since college. You're being ridiculous. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he didn't push. He just nodded slowly, falling into a silence that made me realize my words had landed deeper than I thought. Later that night, I told my sister, Daniel's overreacting. He thinks Ethan is some kind of threat. It's so childish. She agreed, and I felt justified dismissing his concerns. After all, Ethan had been there for every breakup, every bad job, even when Daniel and I first started dating. He was the one person I could talk to freely, without fear of judgment. But what I didn't see was how it looked from the outside. Ethan texted constantly, and I always replied immediately. Sometimes during dinner with Daniel, I'd laugh at Ethan's jokes while my husband watched. There were inside jokes, hugs that lingered too long, and conversations that paused whenever Daniel entered the room. I told myself it was harmless, but deep down, I knew it wasn't as innocent as I pretended. Weeks later, Daniel tried again. Sophie, he said one night, I need you to understand what this feels like. It's as if you're giving parts of yourself to Ethan that should belong to us, to me. I rolled my eyes, irritated. You're overreacting. He's just a friend. Stop trying to control who I talk to. Something in Daniel shifted then. I saw it in his eyes, a quiet resolve like he'd just made a decision. But I was too caught up in feeling superior to notice. I thought I had won when in reality the game was just beginning. Over the next month, Daniel changed. Not in dramatic bursts, but in subtle, unsettling ways. He stopped asking where I was going when I met Ethan. He no longer stayed up waiting for me to come home late. The man who used to notice every little detail now seemed distant, detached. At first, I convinced myself it was progress. Finally, he had stopped obsessing. But what I felt wasn't relief. It was an eerie emptiness. His silence weighed heavier than any argument we'd ever had. Meanwhile, Ethan was still there, texting, calling, inviting me out. I leaned into it almost spitefully. If Daniel didn't care, fine. I laughed louder at Ethan's jokes, stayed out later, shared more secrets. But the more I leaned into that friendship, the colder my home became. Dinners turned into wordless meals. Nights ended with him silently rolling away in bed. Then one Friday, I came home from a night out with Ethan and found Daniel in the living room, a suitcase beside him. My heart sank. What are you doing? I asked, my voice cracking despite my attempt at calm. He looked at me, not with anger, not with tears, but with something far worse, indifference. I can't do this anymore, Sophie, he said evenly. I warned you. I told you how it made me feel and you mocked me. I won't beg for respect in my own marriage. I froze. Wait, you're leaving me over Ethan? Are you serious? My words tumbled out, desperate. Daniel took a deep breath. It's not about Ethan. It's about you. You chose to make me the outsider in my own marriage, and I'm done. It felt like the floor dropped beneath me. I had always believed Daniel would never leave, that no matter how far I pushed, he'd stay. But standing there with his suitcase, he looked like a man who had already left me long ago. I stumbled toward him, panic rising. Daniel, please don't do this. Ethan is just a friend. I was wrong to mock you. I didn't mean it. My voice cracked. The confidence I once had stripped away. But Daniel only shook his head. You don't get it, Sophie. You didn't just mock me. You dismissed me. You dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. You laughed while I was drowning. His words hit me like stones, heavy and undeniable. For the first time, I saw myself through his eyes. The dinners where I ignored his questions, the nights I brushed off his concerns, the moments I chose Ethan's validation over my husband's trust. Suddenly, it wasn't about jealousy or insecurity anymore. It was betrayal, not physical but emotional, deep and cutting. I reached for his hand. We can fix this. Please, I'll stop seeing Ethan. I'll do anything. Daniel gently pulled away, like someone who had already made peace with his decision. I gave you years, Sophie, he said softly. I begged you to see me, but you never did. You only saw a jealous husband to mock. Now I see myself and I know I deserve better. With that, he picked up the suitcase and walked out. The silence that followed was suffocating. I sank onto the couch, replaying every cruel laugh, every sarcastic jab, every time I made him feel small instead of safe. Ethan's text lit up my phone, but for the first time I didn't care. His attention meant nothing compared to what I had lost. I had always believed Daniel would always be there. But I was wrong. My mockery had carved a canyon between us, and when he finally crossed it, he didn't look back. That night I realized, too late, that the man I dismissed as jealous was actually the only one who had truly loved me.